All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the War Commander Rogue Assault official audio podcast. Thank you so much for being here with us. We have a just jam-packed show. It's been a little while since we've done a show, but there's so much to talk about today. So I've got, again, with me as my guest, Mr. Josh Hendren, the general manager of the game. Thanks for taking the time to sit down with us.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Wow. Tons of stuff. Barely even know where to get started. I think we should probably go chronologically and start with some event talk. So if you guys are listening, you have probably seen the trailer for the high-octane trailer that we have for the next event called Exodus. So the first question that I have for you, Josh, is how is this functionally going to change from the last event that we just did called Revelation?
So there's a couple changes to the new event. One, all the targets in this event are going to be brand new. So that's important to know, just so anybody who's coming in is going to see brand new targets they haven't seen before.
So new bases,
new bases that they're attacking, that's
okay.
Right. The targets now are going to be paying out metal on top of the points that you're going to be earning in order to get the main prizes in the point pool. But you'll have more missions to kind of play around with and experiment with overall. And then finally, one piece that we're adding in as well is something we're calling Blitz. And what that essentially is at the end of the mission, when you go to the summary screen for what you just won, you have the opportunity to spend gold to basically replay the mission again at whatever cost of oil it took you to do that mission. So if you were able to do the mission at a relatively low oil cost, you can go into the Blitz thing and then basically charge gold to finish off the mission multiple times in a row without actually having to play through the mission itself. And part of that was in response to some of our players who were saying basically, hey, we don't have the time to go in there and play these missions and really grind it out all the time. And we just want an opportunity to be able to get in there and do some of the missions quickly or just get over the hump with some of the points in relatively fast fashion. So that's why we put that in.
That's cool. So basically, it's just like, hey, I already proved that I know how to do this. So I'm really happy with my last run, and I know I could do that exactly again if I needed to. So we're just saying, all right, we believe you. Right,
and I mean, it's kind of an opportunity as well. If you aren't happy with your first run, go do it again. Have it cost less, and then just pay the smaller amount of gold, and then it'll just be done for you right away. And you'll earn the points and you'll earn the rewards, and you can just keep playing.
So technically, players can go as high as they want within the difficulty segmentation, but they don't have to go on to the higher levels if they don't want to.
Yeah, that's right. You can basically sit and play the same mission over and over again. There is a first mission defeat that gives you bonus for beating each of the missions. But once you've beaten those missions, you can go back and replay any of the missions you want. If you found one that you're really successful at and you just want to go through that mission multiple times because that's the way you can get through it without spending as much oil as some of the other missions, it's totally fine to do that.
Fantastic. All right, let's talk prizes. This is what everybody really wants to know about. What can we expect in the way of new tech this time around?
Yeah, so just talking a little bit about the prizes overall, we have four prizes in the event, 4 blueprint prizes in the event. One players are already going to be familiar with. That's the Humvee Transport from the last event, which is a good vehicle. On top of that, we're adding the Shredder, the Breacher, and the T-14. The Shredder and the Breacher, I'll talk about those two first because they're pretty different in terms of functionality from what's already in the game. When you place those units on the map, then you'll see a button above their portrait. If you press that button, the Breacher or the Shredder will immediately target the nearest turret and beeline right for it and basically destroy anything in its path to get there. And it's a pretty effective piece of machinery at destroying everything in its path to get to that turret. Once it's there and destroys the turret, it'll find the next one and just continue on that path. So not only is it an effective tank, but it's actually a tank that has pretty good DPS as well. It can tear through barriers in seconds. So in a lot of ways, it's a useful unit to go through a player's walls and just pop a hole through and then send the rest of your units behind it.
So if there's maybe 2 people out there that did not see the trailer and didn't see what these things look like, can you give a brief description?
Yeah, so it's in its non-breacher mode, it's basically a tank with a shorter barrel and it fires away just like any other tank would. as soon as you put it into the breacher mode, its arms come down and it has chains or flails or blades in the front that just chew through whatever is in its path, whether it be barriers, whether it be enemy troops or turrets or buildings or anything. It'll just chew them up and move through them.
And once again, these are like real things. Like we didn't just like make this up. Like you can go Google like breacher and shredder and actually see that there are real tanks out there that do this kind of stuff.
Yeah. One of the other things to note about these is there is a small restriction on them, which is because of how powerful they are, you can only have one in a squad slot at a time. So that's a restriction that's set on the breacher tank itself and the shredder. You can only have one per squad. Now that means you can put one in each of the squad slots, or you can just have one and use it to open up a base and then follow through with the rest of your units.
Would we be allowed to use this in a defender platoon? And would you want to use it in a defender platoon?
You can use it in a defender platoon. I would not suggest that you use it in a defender platoon.
Okay.
Most of its power is coming from the turning on the breacher mode, and there's a significant amount of power that comes to that in terms of DPS and everything like that. And its primary tool in that mode is to target turrets.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be a very good defender unit for you.
Until we put mobile turrets in the game.
Right. Or mobile barriers.
Yeah, mobile barriers. Yeah. And then I think one final question. You mentioned that it had, like a button or like a toggle. Is there any sort of like cooldown on that, or could I just go from like one defense turret to another and just go bam, 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 or does it?
There's no cooldown. Okay. Once it's in that mode, it's in that mode.
Okay.
And it takes control. You're not controlling it essentially anymore. It's in that mode and it's doing its job.
Oh, okay. So it's basically kind of the Ruby AI takes over.
Yeah.
At that point.
But there's no turning off the Ruby AI in this particular instance. Yes.
Gotcha.
And then finally, the final prize, the top tier prize, is the T14. And the T14 is, it's the tip of the spear, best tank that you can get in the game. It's far better than the Merkava, and we really just wanted to introduce another step in the meta there for tanks in general, and really allow players to get to that next tier of tank. So the T14 is that.
And I'm assuming that would play off the same equipment as like in the swim lane of the
that's right.
Merkava and
the tank,
and
the current equipment slot that is a swim lane based slot, it will use the Merkava equipment for that.
And again, it's a real thing. Actually, are they even used to it? Like they're so like ultra modern. I think I remember reading the wiki that like they're being made right now and will eventually roll out. So like we're touching like state of the art level stuff here.
Yep.
So then finally, you also mentioned that the Humvee transport is coming back. I think that's really become like one of the favorite units like in the game in general. This has been a question actually from the players. I've seen this very recently, is they want to know like when those units will be coming back. So in the future, will we see the Striker and PK transports come back?
Yeah, future events, absolutely. We plan on allowing players to catch up and get to the things they missed. We just want to make sure that there's some level of exclusivity for the people who went out there and got those things to begin with. All
right, excellent. So one of the other big features that we've got coming up, really hot on the heels, just a matter of I think even weeks after Exodus, is we are revamping the leaderboards, and there's a lot going in here. So I'm very glad that you're here to explain all of this to us. So can you kind of dive into this and let us know how the leaderboards are going to be changing, the personal leaderboards?
Yeah. The biggest thing we're doing is we're basically breaking the leaderboard down into divisions and tiers. Right now, the current leaderboard is 1 through 1,000,000, right? And that's where you stand. And there's no real benefit for being on the leaderboard and for having a high infamy score. What we're going to do is basically break that leaderboard into divisions and to tiers, and each of those divisions and tiers are going to pay out an increasing amount of reward for successfully attacking another player and moving up into a new division or a new tier. So what that looks like for us is we'll have 5 divisions overall with 4 tiers in each division. And you'll start all the way at the bottom, and you'll transition yourself all the way up to a general level. And the icons by your player portrait are going to change, You'll have them there to kind of represent your division and tier level. And then each of those divisions and tiers will pay out a certain amount of metal bonus on top of your normal attack. Big reasons for that is, one, we wanted to make it important for players to recognize who is at the top and who's at the bottom of the infamy pool. The second thing is, we've been consistently hearing, like, hey, we need more metal. And this is especially true at the higher CC levels. We need more metal in order to kind of really feel like we're progressing at a good pace. And we wanted to kind of address that with the users, and we wanted to address it in a way that we felt was competitive and fun, which was a new leaderboard system.
And so those rewards are displayed in each of the tiers. So people know basically what they know what they're shooting for.
Yeah, when this goes live, basically you'll see a new area that'll be a little bit different on the side of your main HUD in your base, and you can click into it, and basically it'll show you each of the divisions at the bottom, what infamy you need in order to get into those divisions, and then what the payout is for each of the tiers. And you can see the tier you're in currently, what the payout is, the bonus payout for attacking and successfully in an attack, and what the next tier is, and what that payout is as well.
I can hear players on the other line, on the other side of this, being like, "Wait a minute, I've got like 2 million infamy. What's going to happen to my 2 million infamy once we move over to this new?" Basically, is it going to display like that they still have 2 million infamy, or is that going to be kind of an adjusted score based on the new system?
So we're going to have to adjust the scores based off the new system. So if you're the number one in the leaderboard, you're going to still be number one in the new division system as well. We're not going to just wipe everybody clean and start everybody from zero.
Okay.
The biggest difference now, though, is before you wouldn't always lose and gain infamy, right? Now it's an ELO system, so basically, or much more close to an ELO system. So you're gaining infamy from successful attacks, and you're losing infamy if your base gets destroyed. So if I come in and kill your base swag, then your infamy is going to go down. Right?
Why would you do that to me, Josh?
Well, if you had enough metal, I would do it to you. So it's basically, it's going to keep the divisions tighter, and it's going to make it so that you're constantly in a movement up or down within these spaces. And so there's no general just accumulation of infamy over time. So it's not going to be 1 or 2 or 10 people with 2 million infamy and a lot of people with less. It's really going to be divisioned out. And depending on where you're at in those divisions and where you're at in those tiers, the metal payouts escalate quite a bit. It should be good for the players.
Now, I hear there's actually an additional incentive, is that players are also going to get badges as well, quite literally badges of honor. I've seen a few of those. So where are players going to be able to see their badges, and where are other players going to be able to see them so they can see, like, yeah, I'm a 5-star general.
Right. So you're going to be able to see the badges basically in any of the chats. So wherever your portrait is at, your badge is going to be beside your portrait.
Oh, nice.
So when you start a PvP attack, you can see the other player and their portrait there. In chat and world chat and alliance chat and different places like that, you'll see your portrait there or the badge beside your portrait. So you can kind of always look at players and understand where they actually lie in this pool of the division and where they're at in the whole skill set of the leaderboard itself.
Now, this does not affect the Alliance leaderboard, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. We're going to leave the Alliance leaderboard the same. It's not going to be reset. We didn't tackle Alliance leaderboards yet. We want to do that in the future for sure, but that's part of a future update for us, not this particular one. One of the other things to note about this is we had to make some changes in terms of infamy on the world map itself. What we've noticed is there's just too much manipulation of infamy on the world map. It's too easy to manipulate infamy on the world map as it currently stands.
Sure.
You can win trade with people pretty easily. You can do a lot of different things, and we wanted to avoid that as best possible. So we're removing, with this update, we're removing infamy basically from any kind of PvP attacking on the world map. So if you hit people on the world map, there's not going to be an infamy trade there at all. It's purely for a quick match, and that's where that's going to lie. Future updates, we're going to be putting more things into world map and focusing a lot on that. And so we're going to bring a lot more value back into the world map. But that's what we had to sacrifice this time to avoid basically manipulation of the system.
Yeah, we've seen reports of that. I don't think that's going to be too big of an issue out there, but I don't know. I guess we'll see when the comments come back in. Now, as far as the scores themselves, is there going to be a need to reset those at any point, or is this just kind of like a set it and let it go?
So we definitely are going to reset the very top of the division on a periodic basis. That's our plan, right? We want to keep it really competitive at the top end. Most of the divisions won't see a reset at all. You'll be in those divisions, and your whole desire is going to be to move up. It'll give you more metal. It'll do those types of things for you. But the very tip top of the division, where the top players are at, that's going to reset on a periodic basis, just so we can keep it kind of competitive and meaningful.
Awesome. And one more topic that I wanted to get into, we just introduced the new equipment system, and I've heard chatter about possibly doing additional pieces of equipment. Are there plans to further that system, create possibly new slots, possibly even more equipment?
Absolutely. So, in the coming months, I would say we're going to be rolling out additive things to the equipment overall. That'll include additional slots. It'll include things like secondary weapons for units. It'll include the ability to swap out a particular type of equipment for a different type of equipment. All of those things are going to be coming out in the next few months. So that's all part of the plan, and we want to get that. We really like putting equipment in there, allowing players to have choices when they're kind of fighting with their units and how they want to customize their units. And so that's one of the things we're going to put into the game.
Final question. When does the game team find time to sleep doing all this?
Yeah. Some of us not as much as others, but yeah, we do. We find time here or there.
little cat naps and a lot of Red Bull. Well, thank you so much, Josh. This has just been an avalanche of information. I think people are probably going to have to go back and listen to this a couple of times to make sure that they caught every single little piece of information. But I know I'm really excited about this stuff. I've been playing a lot of the Exodus maps on the test servers, and then I think that the fans are really going to love it. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
And we will do another episode pretty soon. So thanks so much for listening, guys.